What if you could be making intentional or good habits automatically? What's up, guys? Coach Carissa here. Welcome to our channel. This channel is all about helping real women lose real weight by uncovering the fact that your breakthrough really only lies at the intersection of the actions you take and the beliefs that you hold, which is just our fancy way of saying that you can't only concern yourself with the physical actions you're trying to take, like how you're eating, how you're moving, things like that, but you also need to get a grip on what's going on with you internally so you can stop self-sabotaging, stop falling back to your old habits, and stop having to start over and over and over again. So enjoy this week's lesson and subscribe for more. All right, so we're talking tonight about making good habits automatically. A lot of the time, people make bad habits unintentionally, and then they find themselves in a situation where they have to break those habits when they want to change something. So my question is, would it not be better to not make those bad habits in the first place? What if you could be making intentional or good habits automatically? And it all comes down to the way you make decisions. So we've thrown around this term of being a neutral observer several times. Some of you guys have been far enough into the Phallus Accelerator to know what that means. Some of you haven't, but it should be something you're familiar with at some point within this program. And it's a really incredible pursuit, in my opinion. Me and Cameron racked our brains a few years ago on what it really is, what this one mindset really is in being in complete control of the habits you make, which is essentially your behavior and who you're being. So, and we came up with being a neutral observer, and it's a really, really powerful tool. And it's very simple. So becoming a neutral observer is the topic of tonight, which is how to create good habits automatically. And like I said, it all comes down to a framework of decision making. So as a human being, we make decisions like this if we don't bring consciousness to it. So most people form bad habits unintentionally by following this format of decision making, right? You get new information, you experience an emotion, we make that emotion mean something, and then we make a choice and we take the action. That's what happens if we don't really think too much about it. So for example, right, some new information could be, I went out to dinner and I ate more than I intended to. And then you experience an emotion. Maybe it's guilt, maybe it's shame, maybe it's regret, maybe it's fear. From that emotion, we formulate a meaning. We say, this is bad, I was bad, I did something bad, I shouldn't have done that. And from that, we make a choice. Tomorrow, I'm not going to eat anything, right, to make up for it. And then we take that action, right, and we restrict calories the following day. So what happens in this example? If that behavior is repeated enough, this specific example forms a binge-starve habit, which is not great. And that's something you'll have to break later. So where's the pause? What needs to happen? The neutral observer pauses and reflects in the middle of that. We can't really change the fact that our brain gets new information. We are automatically going to experience an emotion. And most of the time, we can't control our first thought on creating a label and making it mean something, but we can control our second. And that's where becoming a neutral observer comes into play. And this is what would be so beneficial for you to practice, is right when you formulate that label or that meaning, pause, reflect, question the label. Okay? So for example, let's say you ate more than you intended to. You felt regret. And then you said, this is bad. I shouldn't have done that. Pause. Maybe. Acknowledge what's so. I overate. There's nothing I can do about that now. I will spend some time figuring out why I overate if it's a reoccurring habit. But starving myself tomorrow, realistically, is not going to do anything. It's not going to make anything better. And it can only make things worse, especially if I do it a lot. So I'm going to choose to forgive myself and eat what I'm supposed to eat tomorrow. And then you follow through with that action. So you proceed to engage in your original plan prior to your binge. Maybe journal about those potential binge triggers if this is something that needs to be reflected on, and you move on. That's the framework of decision making I would highly encourage you to practice. You'll notice yourself, you'll catch yourself, and the more frequently you start to catch yourself, the more quickly you will become a neutral observer of your own life, which is essentially all that I do for you guys. That's all a coach does for someone for accountability, is I'm outside of your head. I'm outside of your emotions. So I'm able to look at your life neutrally as an observer and say, in this context, with this information, this is likely the best, response, right? If we're able to do that for ourselves, we're in so much more control of the habits we create, and we're so much less likely to accidentally form bad habits that we're going to have to break one day. And it's just coming down to these decision-making tendencies at the moment where you're formulating labels and meanings. So, couple questions to ask yourself. And if you want this copy of this worksheet, let me know, or you can take a screenshot of it. Is a self-audit, right? And the more frequently you do this, the more in charge of your life you will be. Most people check in with themselves once a year on New Year's. The more frequently you check in with yourself, the less off track you can get. So if you're checking in with yourself weekly, daily, hourly, right? The more frequently, the better. So the only way to know if you're on track towards the goals you've declared for yourself is to know where your feet are going every single day, right? So what path are you on, right? What habits are you nurturing? Because you're doing something right now. So a couple questions I wrote down that are super helpful that I ask myself all the time, or if your life's not going the way you want to, or you're developing a habit you don't want to, pause and ask these questions. How many of your actions per day or per week are in alignment with your next goal, right? And this is understanding that we've already gotten massively clear on our next goal. Vague goals make vague plans, which make it really easy to not know if you're falling to the wayside, okay? So this is presupposing you have massive clarity on your next goal. If you don't, I have a separate worksheet for that. But if you have massive clarity on your next goal, how many of your actions are in alignment with that? How many are not, right? As long as the ones that are outweighing the ones that are not, you're going to make it. Doesn't matter. You can accelerate things, right? We have a fat loss accelerator. If you do all the things, you'll get there faster. But as long as you're doing more things in alignment than not, you're going to get there. And the pace is completely up to you. And there's don't make a label. Don't make a meaning. It doesn't matter. As long as you get there, you get there. The pace is up to you. How many of your actions per day or per week are in alignment with the lifestyle you've chosen? This one's huge, right? There's many ways to get to your goal. We're clear on that, right? You can do keto, you can do macros, you can make lifestyle changes, you can focus only on habit. Again, if more of your actions are in alignment than not with your next goal, you can choose to nurture the lifestyle that you want to eventually live into as you get there. So that once you arrive at your goal, you don't really have to change your life. Does that make sense? And how many are not, right? How frequently are you checking in with yourself? How are you checking in with yourself? What are you monitoring? Are you enrolling any accountability or support in those check-ins? Because we cannot reach meaningful goals alone. Nobody ever transformed their entire life or impacted another's life in a meaningful way by themselves. We need community, we need support. I wouldn't be where I'm at without help, right? I know we all need help. So whether it's a professional coach, whether it's a support group, whether it's a friend, who's gonna hold you accountable? And that's it. Keeping check on how much of your activity is conscious or unconscious. That's a really masterful thing to be doing. Because without proper self-evaluation, failure is inevitable. We don't do well on autopilot unless your autopilot is trained well. Thank you so much for watching. We truly hope you enjoyed that lesson. So every single week we make room for one guest spot on these support calls. So if you'd like the opportunity to attend, ask questions, receive coaching, just hit the link in the description box, or you can head over to gainslinger.com/coach me. Once again, that's Gainslinger, GAINSLINGER.com/coach me, all one word. Have a blessed day and we'll see you next week.